if you can't tell, I listened to your
Mhm.
opening
No, I
press
appreciate it.
conference. I thought
Yeah.
I thought it was truly great, but you talked about that wisdom and you talked about just like giving as much as you possibly can to players because you basically said that you want to give them everything you have, but you hopefully never give them enough because you're continuing to learn. Because of what you said, is it like harder to kind of like try to give them everything because of there's that so much like that time difference? Because when you have 3 or 4 years, you can build a player up, but when you
Mhm.
only maybe have a year or two, depending on the player, like you don't have that time, like you said, anymore that you might have had to give them that fully everything.
Well, I think before you could save some things because you had time. Where now where when they get there, immediately you kind of have to give them everything you have because you're trying to get the best version of them in the year. You know you got a year with them.
Yeah.
So you're trying to get the best version out of them within that year. So you're constantly trying to tweak the formula to try and, okay, I got this in 3 months with this person. Can I cut it down to be able to get it in a month and a half to two? Right. And
Yeah.
I think that is what we're all going to be seeking is how can we make our programs the best in order to get out of these players exactly what we need in a shorter amount of time. And I think to me, that is what this landscape, the changing landscape has done for basketball. It's the model that overseas they've had to work with for a long time. Their teams change almost every year. So now when you know that, your knowledge has to change almost every year. So there might be a defensive scheme that you can work with in 25, 26 that in 26, 27 your personnel doesn't allow you to do.
Yeah.
That's not how it had to be because before, the people who came in had to conform to what you did because they were going to be there for 4 years. And if they left, they would have to sit out for a year. It's no longer the case. So it causes you to be more, a little bit more authentic because what I tell you in recruiting is what I have to live up to when you get here because you don't have to stay anymore. So I, I kind of don't get to lie to you. I kind of don't get to
Yeah.
just pitch you and sell you things, sell you a bag of goods and then not deliver on it when you get here. I got to do exactly what I said I'm going to do from the beginning. And then once I do that, you can choose to stay or not. But no matter what, you're going to be a better version of yourself when you leave.
Yeah, which is obviously like the goal as a coach is obviously to get them to be a better player, but also again to get them to be a better individual. And I feel like that's one part that isn't really talked enough about is just
Mhm.
the impact of a coach player relationship, obviously on the court, but off the court as
Mhm.
well. And that relationship, like keeping that relationship throughout the process is extremely important. And I'm sure that, like we talked about, you learned under Izzo, but also connections as well, because under Izzo, you had Dwayne Stevens at
Yeah.
MSU, you went to NAU for a year, and then you end up coming back to Michigan to coach for Dwayne Stevens.
Mhm.
So, like, you kind of had that relationship with specific coaches, which has probably helped you grow the relationship with them, but also with the players as well.
Yeah, and it's one of the big things in that Michigan State culture that is not seen, but how much time that Coach Izzo and his staff spends with those guys that doesn't have anything to do with basketball, and just making sure you understand who they are and who they trust that pushes them to that level. Because especially with Coach Stevens when I was at Western, he was big on, very, very big on who is in their circle that they trust, getting to know them, really getting to know the player so we can understand how everybody can get on the same page in order to push them to the top of that mountain. And it's something that from coaches Owen and Coach Stevens, I learned quite a bit about just how important that is because I mean, when they go home after a tough day, they talking to somebody
Yeah.
and you have to make sure that the person that they call and talking to is on the same page as you, or they're going to be getting different external messages that conflict them when they come on the basketball court. And you'll never get the best version of the player that way.
Yeah. Or you also have to make sure you have like the same language you're talking to the trainers, the
Mm.
what the wait staff. Like everyone has to kind of be on the same wavelength because if everyone's not on the same wavelength, then there could be issues in the future. So it's kind of that connection within like the organization as well.
For sure.
So obviously we talked a lot about MSU, Coach Stevens, Coach Izzo. We've talked a little bit about your philosophy, but what makes the state of Michigan special when it comes to basketball? Like, why did you want to return to Michigan when it comes to Western, when it comes to SVSU? Was it really the state that stands out, and just how different is the state of Michigan basketball wise, maybe compared to when you're out in Arizona?
Um, well, the high school scenes are both a little bit different. I think Arizona has a lot of really good prep schools, and that's what they kind of stand on out there that they like. The high school basketball scene in Michigan has always been fairly competitive, but now we're losing a lot of our kids to the prep school ranks. Um, Especially when they get older to be juniors and seniors, they leave and they go prep. So, it is a area in which I felt very comfortable, especially recruiting and the relationships that I've built here that allow me to get to know players and understand which players are coming up through the pipeline because it is kind of my era of basketball player that is becoming the high school coaches and the AAU coaches now. So, my relationship with them and familiarity with that is what brought me back.
And do you think being a younger coach helps with that a little bit? Helps with that connection with maybe like the high schoolers, with like the transfer portal, with some of these players that might come in because you might understand a little bit more like of them than maybe coaches that have been coaching for 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I think that answer is kind of twofold. Like it still allows me to speak their language in a sense, which that helps, but also because I can speak their language and understand them a little bit better, they're expecting me to be a little bit more lenient because
Yeah.
it's like, wait, well, you went through this too. How do you not understand? Well, it's like, yeah, I went through it and I learned just how much I should have done this part.
Yeah.
Right. So like you can kind of speak in a retrospective sense when you're this age, but you can speak their language. But while speaking their language, they think you're one of them as well. Like, hey, like you should know that I don't want to do this, or I said you should know why this is this. And it's kind of twofold as being young could help and hurt in that sense because they're like, well, you went through it. Why don't you feel my pain? Why don't you have the empathy that you should have? And it's because I'm trying to push you to levels that I didn't make it to. Not, I don't want you to do the same thing as me. I actually want you to do better than what I did. And I tell my players all the time when I speak, I speak from two lenses. Either I did it and I understand why it worked, so I want you to do it, or I didn't do it and I wish I would have, so I'm going to give it to you now. Right. So
Yeah.
like, that's the kind of the lens I try to speak from and hopefully they understand.
Yeah, and it's again going back to that relationship between you and your players. It's about having that relationship, having that trust, learning from each other, and really applying that. And it takes time. But
And
obviously, you've been at SVSU for a little bit. I'm sure that you're going to continue to address those philosophies, address kind of the way you want to coach. But for anyone listening to this that might not know you extremely well, what's one thing that you really want to have them take away from an SVSU game when they come watch you, your program, your players?
oh man, I hope they feel as if we all are enjoying ourselves out there, and I mean that in the most competitive way. That like you see a team that enjoys rising levels of competition. Like the harder a game gets, the more we seem to settle in. Like I hope people see that. Um, but I hope people see like very adaptable and creative problem solvers on the floor, like guys who are put in situations that they've either seen so many times that they understand how to solve the problem because they've seen it so many times, or it's a new situation and they're able to adapt to that situation no matter what comes. So I hope they see a team that enjoys competition. So when the competition rises, they enjoy rising with it no matter the result, and then adaptable and creative problem solvers.
Love that answer. And speaking of competition, you're going to be in the GLIAC, so it's going to be competition every single night. I'm sure that you felt a little bit about it, but in my opinion, especially when it comes to D2 conferences around the country, I truly think the GLIAC is one of the best, if not the best conference in the entire country.
Yeah, I mean, my relationship with the GLIAC goes back to my first couple years at college, and I think all 4 years of college, we played an exhibition game against a GLIAC school. And my first 2 years, we were all young, and we came in with a new head coach and played Lake Superior State. And the first time we played them, we won the game, but it was very close. The second time we played them, we should have lost. And there was some missed free throws and some lucky bounces that we got that, propelled us to win. But the older guards and older players in this league are Division I players
Yeah,
at any level. It's just who knows why they developed late in order to not be able to get there when they were young. But there's a lot of good players out there. So you get to the right system, and once you get to the right system and you develop the right way, then they're able to play with just about anybody, as well as there are a lot of fantastic coaches in the league who continue to get better at this level. So I'm excited to see it and challenge my own philosophies against theirs and compete that way.
awesome. And we've talked about the rivalry against Northwood. How excited are you to face, obviously, GVSU?
How excited am I to face GVSU?
Yeah, being the head coach on the opposite side of GVSU.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Like I'm excited to see what that feels like. I've been a part of some really good rivalries in my day, leading from a younger age all the way up until now. So I'm excited to see what this one's about and go into it and prepare my team to win a game, but also to respect the rivalry.
Yeah,
Like I want it to feel like that. I don't want it to just be like to sit back and say, "Oh, this is just a normal game." Like that's never how Coach Izzo approached Michigan. It's not normal
yeah,
when you go in there, and I don't. But it's a respect thing. It's not normal because of how much I respect who's on the other side, and I know Coach Corn and a few of their staff members, and I respect those guys to the highest degree. And the only way I know how to show my respect is to put the best product out there that I can and push everybody to that point. So I'm excited to do that.
yeah. It's about competing against each other, putting your best foot forward. They put your best foot forward, and whoever comes out at the end of the
Yeah.
night, there's that respect for each other. And let's do it again another time.
And it's all like this sports at the end of the day is entertainment, right?
Yeah,
That's what we're trying to do is entertain those people who are coming to watch. And we don't want people to walk away from that, especially the alumni of Saginaw Valley and the alumni of Grand Valley to be like, oh, that was just another game. I don't want them to feel like that. And I don't want my guys to feel
oh
like,
yeah,
oh, we just going to play another game. I want everybody in the arena to feel the the level of competition that's going to come through there.
yeah. It means different, right? Like
Yeah,
rivalries
and it
mean
should.
different. Yeah,
It should. We shouldn't act like it doesn't. It should mean everything to everybody. It meant it. That's why it's a rivalry in the first place.
yeah. And you lived it out for Central and Western. Obviously,
Central
is a
Miss.
big rivalry. You've seen Michigan, Michigan State. You see, obviously, GVSU, SVSU, SVSU, Northwood. That's what I love about sports is you have rivalries and you have coaches, you have fans, you have players that care so much about playing well, but also you have that respect thing, the respect part of it. And I feel like that's the most important part that isn't talked about is you want to perform and you want to put your best foot forward because you have so much respect for the other team.
Because of who you are. Like, I respect
Exactly.
you, who you are, and what you've done, and how successful you've been, and the only way for everybody to get the best out of one another and push each other to that next level, if they put the best product on the court that they can, and we do the same thing, then whatever the result is what it is.
Yeah.
But at least we've created an environment that people want to be in, and that's our job.